Welcome to tonight's Digital Concert Hall Interval Talk. My name is Sarah Willis, and I am honored to be sitting here with the non-horn playing soloist of the evening, Mitsuko Uchida.
Hello, hi Sarah.
Hello, nice to see you.
Good to see you. So,
I would normally say welcome to the Philharmonie, but you have been here all year.
well, sort of on and off, because I'm the so-called pianist in residence. I don't know whatever that means. It means all sorts of things, but here it is very simple. Apart from the orchestra concert, I am doing 4 chamber music concerts with the Philharmonic players mainly, as well as bringing in my series, I bring in singers. And then also the first concert was with the so-called Akademisten. They are the young people who are attached to the Philharmonic.
The Academy, the Berlin Philharmonic Academy is the Karajan Academy.
Exactly.
Involving the young
Academy.
students.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And so one concert was with the students. I played the Mozart Concerto and I played Mission Quartet, that sort of thing. And then I brought in youngish singers doing das Buch Der hängenden Gärten of Schönberg. And then yesterday, the Frauenliebe. At the moment, it's the Schumann Week.
This is Schumann Week.
Schumann Week. There are so many Schumanns, and I play the Schumann Piano Quintet and Schumann Frauenliebe und Leben.
All in 1 week?
And that was, no, in one day.
In one day.
One day, Schumann Quintet and the Frauenliebe. And then the concert started with Adam Berg Sonata. Because I think Berg is the romantic composer, apart from Schumann. And they are very linked to each other. And if you give me 1 hour, I give you a comparison between Schumann and Berg. But as we haven't got that.
We
but
do
anyways,
that next time.
Yeah, okay.
We do that next time. You played the Schumann Piano Concerto tonight. Is it a big favorite of yours?
Yes, I tell you what. It was my first true, deep, great love. And I was 13, and I knew nothing about anything. And I thought I sound awful, which is true. In everything, I thought I sounded awful. And apart from, interestingly, Debussy, I thought, that sounds not as awful as all the other stuff. Mozart, I couldn't play.
Why was
Beethoven, no, I was right. I couldn't play them yet.
But Debussy is also very complicated.
It's complex, but it's emotionally different. It's more accessible, but Schumann was not accessible, and I loved it and loved it and loved it. And I thought, I have never heard anything so beautiful in my life.
It's incredible because this piano concerto is in a minor key, which is normally associated with sadness and grief.
Yeah, but I tell you what, when I was even younger, then I was 13, I was something like 9 or so. I remember I was given Schubert's Impromptu in E-flat major. Yeah, it's very dark in the middle section, but it's sort of seemingly, apparently, it's more accessible to kids. And I wanted to have played the C minor. That is really, really dark.
That's very dark.
And so maybe there was something wrong with me, and there is, I bet, still something
Dark
very wrong.
childhood. We'll talk about that the next time.
Yeah, okay. But you also loved the piece, no?
The piece was the first piano concerto I heard, and I
there you
promised
are.
myself I would play it one day, but I only ended up with a horn. So
But horn part isn't bad.
Horn
the
part
wind
isn't bad.
part in this piece is actually very, very beautiful.
very
of
beautiful,
course,
also very difficult.
oboe and clarinet get the priority,
Yeah.
but still, here we go.
There's a big interaction between soloist and orchestra, but anyway,
Yes.
when I've played with you in the past, I've always enjoyed your involvement, not only as a soloist, but you know every single corner of the score, and you know who's playing when, and involve us all.
I love to be making music with people. I love chamber music, but it is a kind of orchestra playing, playing a piano concerto when you play the good one. And I play only great pieces.
Of course.
But then it is, what is real fun is the interaction. Of course, there is the interaction between the conductor and myself, but every instrument, and particularly the wind instruments, there is a great connection. Not only Mozart concertos from 453 onwards, I call them the woodwind concerto with piano as well. But Schumann concerto very much so, but also Ravel G major. It was, I mean, at a given point, I'm just an accompanist.
We enjoy that very much in the orchestra when we notice soloists are playing with us and not just for us. It's a real true musician to involve the whole orchestra in what he or she are doing.
Well, that's the fun about making music.
That's true. Yeah. The Schumann piano concerto I read was described as recklessly happy.
Yes and no. Yes, it is the last movement. It ends with such euphoria. And it is also in Schumann's music. It depends, of course, on the phase and the period of time and so on. There was, of course, the famous 1840 when he composed all these amazing song cycles and so on. He has had phases, and then up to a certain point, he composed on mainly piano solo music only. He started off as a pianist, and then he mucked up with his finger and so on. And incidentally, although people say Schumann was a great pianist, and he, particularly the other instruments tell you that Schumann has written just for the piano, and he could write only for the piano. Now, was he a great pianist? And the answer is no. His wife was. Clara was a great pianist. But he himself never was that brilliant a pianist. Chopin was, Beethoven was, Mozart was, and Johann Sebastian G. Those were all such keyboard players. But Schumann wasn't even a great pianist.
But he had his muse at home who could
and not
play
only,
for him.
He had such fantasy, he had such imagination, a unique imagination, and he had invented some way of composing as some people in the 20th century, and now in the 21st, certain number of young composers are discovering the very peculiar thought process of Schumann as their inspiration. And it is very interesting because how he composes and how he invents, it took me a long time why it is so difficult to really get through to Schumann and to learn them, is because by twisting a motif, for example, that alone, he creates completely unexpected dissonances. And so on. So he is a very peculiar composer, but in this piece, as in all of anyway, this piece is also the hidden motto is Clara. Clara, C, yeah, in German. C, das ist C, yeah, and A T ta so T da. He made that theme already from the name of Clara, and then there's all of the rhythmic unity. There's this Clara, Clara. So it's his affection and love to Clara. That is in many musics of his, but this one very strongly so. And he composed this piece as a fantasy first. And then somebody pointed out, no, it should be expanded into a piano concerto. And it has got, with not as badly as the symphonic etudes, but it has also a very interesting past history, this piece. So we still find it very difficult. To what extent did he want it this way, or did the copyist make a mistake, or did the printer just produce a misprint? Because one of the clean copy before it went to the publication that got lost, and so on. So we are tearing our hair out. But these days, finally, we have got some good music to score from which we can study.
Is that how you prepare for a piece like this? The Schumann, you go back and imagine what he was going through in that time and his love to his wife. Obviously, Clara must have been a real Powerfrau.
Yeah, and above all, an incredible pianist. But he was a very, very complex character. And there are some of his greatest pieces he wrote even before Clara. So it is quite complicated.
So one can't say she was responsible for all his
for absolutely everything,
no.
But she certainly was the main figure in his life. That is very clear.
The Schumann you haven't played here before. You've played lots of Mozart. I remember mm-hmm. I read that your premiere here was 25 years ago. Of course, no one will believe that. 25 years ago with Messiaen.
Messiaen's oiseau exotique.
That's very unusual for you because although you are oiseau exotique yourself, you're not associated so much with Messiaen. You're very much.
I have got very peculiar repertoire. I play a lot of the main German repertoire, what they call the German from Johann Sebastian Bach, although I keep him very secret in my jacket inside.
You play him for you at home?
Yes, very, very much. And
I don't remember seeing
out a little
that.
bit, but even in that Messiaen concert, there was Brandenburg 5, you see, and that I don't mind, or I love playing Bach on the piano.
But you don't play it very often in concerts, do you?
I am outing a little bit.
You're outing a little bit.
Good.
Good, I look forward.
Yeah. And I combine at the moment Kurtag with Bach. And that is a wonderful
fantastic combination.
Yes, it's wonderful. He does it himself.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the Haydns and Mozart, particularly Mozart, really a lot. Mozart, Beethoven, Schubert, and then Schumann. And Brahms less so, but more through the chamber music. Also, I'm outing with Brahms, more sort of on the side. And so on. And then, of course, the second Viennese school. So that is my mainstream of repertoire. But then I have this French side, Polish French side, because Chopin as an honorary person who lived in France, but who is a totally different kettle of fish, but still. But Debussy, Ravel, and then Messiaen with it, and then I even play Pierre Boulez.
You've played with the Berlin Philharmonic. You've played Mozart. I know you've played Ravel and Bartók. But I remember a concert with you about 6 years ago when we did the Grand Partita together.
Yes, and that was a special concert for the 90th birthday of Kurt Sanderling, who is still at 96 and a half, going strong.
He's incredible.
It's fantastic.
He's incredible. The concert was wonderful. But you've played a lot of Mozart with the orchestra. We're very lucky.
Somehow it turned out that way. Meanwhile, I do very rarely Mozart concertos with the big orchestras. But it's very difficult to say no to the Berlin Phil, that's why. But next year there is something totally different coming up, which I really look forward to. I play all 5 Beethoven concertos with Simon.
Wonderful.
Yes,
we'll look forward to that.
Yes, so do I.
And the audience can see it on the digital concert hall.
Oh, God, that is actually quite frightening. It's wonderful and frightening at once, because suddenly what is in the hall, that is for that particular group of people you share it, it is in the open world.
We feel the same.
You do.
We feel the same. And for our Schumann Concertstück, it's all very well practicing it in our horn room, and it's okay playing it here in the hall. But just the feeling of it going out into the world live, it's quite another ball game.
Yes, I think so too. But it's part of the professional life. I am not quite sure that I like everything being everywhere. I sort of like the idea of concerts being there for that very moment. That's different. That's the difference between a concert and a recording. Although the recording is also, of course, it's corrected, but it's not only that you can correct it. Although the recording is also from that moment, but the immediacy of a concert, that you are sitting in a concert hall, and from that silence of that moment, for a piece to start, is something different.
We're hoping that's what our digital concert hall audience will be able to experience, hopefully through the technology of today with the great sound possibilities.
That's true. Yes.
So we're waiting for feedback from all over the world. We know a lot of people are watching in Japan and in Asia.
Well, that takes some sort of guts to be up at 4 a.m. or something to watch a concert.
This is true,
honestly.
But I'm sure there are some people watching tonight.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Yeah.
So now we've heard a lot about Schumann's piano concerto. I would like to tell you a little bit more about Schumann's horn pieces. So we're here in the horn room, as we call it. This is where we unpack all our stuff. As you can see, all the horns are lying around, where we prepare for concerts, where we sweat before concerts, worry, where we celebrate after concerts. We spend a lot of time in here practicing. And I have here one of the original instruments that it's similar to the original horns that used to be played before Schumann's time. It's basically just a long length of tubing rolled together. So this is called a natural horn, and it's what the players used to use before Schumann's time. You can get a certain amount of notes on it, but not all the notes of the scale. And this was the problem for composers. They started thinking there must be more to horn playing than this. You can get a certain amount of notes of the scale, but not all of them. The good horn players of the time would try and change the notes with their hands. It's a very complicated subject. At the beginning of the 19th century, craftsmen invented valves which were to help the horn players to get more notes on their instrument, thus helping the composers to write more exciting pieces. So the natural horn became a thing of the past, although it took a while for the horn players to get used to it. And these valves were invented, you see on the modern horn, these are the valves, and they enabled the horn players to play all the notes of the scale, and then more on top of that, they could play up to 4 octaves on this horn. By the middle of the 19th century, Schumann was around and decided he wanted to be part of this new wave of the musical trend of writing for horns. So he decided to take advantage of all these notes we could play and wrote the Adagio and Allegro for horn and piano, which is incredibly difficult, and we don't know to this day how they managed to play them on the original valve horns because they were very heavy and very clumsy. And that was such a success that he decided he would go further and wrote the Konzertstück, or the concert piece for 4 horns and orchestra. The Konzertstück for 4 horns is incredibly difficult. It must have been fiendishly difficult in those days. It still is fiendishly difficult these days. It goes from the very top range of the horn right down to the very bottom range. It's a big challenge for us all, but we really enjoyed spending this week together and practicing this piece.